besides not having a formula to get there is because they don't have clarity on what they actually want. We say we want things, but what we're really doing is just saying the objects that we think we should have based upon society. We're not clear. We don't have the clarity. And everything you've given us today helps us to absolutely have the space to now have that clarity come to us. And now once we have that, and we have the two formulas you gave us, we're unstoppable. It's awesome. This is great. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Parenting on Purpose, your podcast for being present as a parent and enjoying the journey. I'm pretty excited today. I'm excited for many reasons. One, I have caffeine. Two, I have my beautiful friend Monica here with me, and she is like the modern Vitruvian man, but a woman. Like, I'm so excited for this episode, you guys. This woman is a mother of three. She's an accountant on her journey to her CPA, and she has taken her accountant, very logical brain and created amazing structures and tools that she's utilized in her life and help with her clients to help manage not only their personal finances, but their free time. In fact, she has an incredible journey and mission that it goes time, energy, and money. And we're going to get into all of that today and some things that we can do immediately to help improve our situations, help managing our own time and money, and most importantly, taking the things that are our dreams and goals and bringing them to fruition. So, Monica, hi, we have a lot to talk about. How are you today?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. This is so fun. I'm really excited to be here and to just share my tiny little piece of the puzzle.
I love it. I wore my mathlete shirt just for you. So I was pretty excited. My husband's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This is my mathematician shirt." Channeling energy. So I know you're on the West Coast, right? So you're coming to us from the U.S.
I am. Yeah, I'm in California.
California, very good. I have spent some time in California myself. It is a beautiful, beautiful place. So from one edge of the U.S. to the other, we're here today and we're down for the journey. So awesome. So why don't you start us off with telling us a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you've kind of come into this formulaic approach to money, time, and energy. Share with us your mission. Give us a little bit of a intro to Monica.
Well, gosh, I think the hardest question to answer is, where are you from? What do you do? Because by this point, I have dabbled in all of it. And I'm very lucky to have found my actual framework to put all the pieces together. So I'm an accountant. I came to it late in life where I just finally answered that calling and I went for it. And so I'm just like every other person out there trying to figure it out. And the way I see the world is definitely through numbers. However, there are many other edges to that where it's not just numbers, it's energy and time. So you would think that an accountant is all about the numbers and the financials and all that kind of stuff, but that's the report card. That's the output. And more important than the output is the input.
Right.
And that is a very deep mission that I'm on, is to figuring out those inputs, especially in a world of so much information, so many resources, so many things vying for our time.
Yes.
And it's always a journey to figure out those choices. What are those best choices we can make that will create the outcome that we truly choose in this very fast-paced information overload society that we live in. And not only do it for us, but really do that for the people around us, our families, kind of show them the way in this new digitized world that we live in. And so, accountant is like just a tiny piece of what I am, which is kind of weird,
Yes.
Occupation.
And that's, what's so cool though? There's so many things here. Like, it's so funny when you ask someone what do you do? Or tell me about you, because we feel like we have to put on these hats, or we are these things. And it's, as a parent, you're always like, and I'm a mom. It comes out, but we are not one thing. What I love about your journey is you said you found it later in life, which is like a beacon of hope to most parents, because right now, if we're in the trenches of parenthood, it doesn't mean that you're not on the path to becoming what you're supposed to be. And I think the frameworks and tools that you and I are going to chat about here today will give a lot of people a peace of mind for that, which I think is incredible in itself. So I know you have this formula, and I think it's useful in many ways. And before we start recording, one thing you mentioned is you utilize it with not only your own personal goals, but like for your children. Like, one, you want to show that mama's got it together, that I have a backbone, like me and dad got this. You are free to like play out your journey, but then you give this to your children as a concept to help them discern all the stuff flying at them. Like, I don't know if you've ever picked up your kid's phone and seen Snapchat or TikTok, but like, it is nuts, the world that they live in. Like, we cannot even fathom it as parents. It is so different than the world we know. And I know we're consuming the same physical space, but it's so different, the inner world. So walk us through the time, energy, money kind of premise and formula, and maybe show us, like, I know you mentioned there's an input and an output, or there's like a lead and a lag indicator in that. Kind of walk us through that, and we'll just kind of play from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that is really, really important is that anytime any of us come to, okay, here's a solution, here's the thing, and then we go try the thing, and then it doesn't work. So I'm going to back up the truck and say that as at one point, I had 3 under 3. So I was unable to figure it out to really start to make progress until my youngest was about 9 or 10. So last thing I want to do is any parent with littles watching and going, okay, I'm going to go figure this out. Like, first of all, you're doing amazing. Whatever you hear other people say, including me, there's this intuition that is like a voice that is much more knowledgeable about what you should be doing. So maybe what I say will work. And I think that the wisdom here too is that it's not like take what someone says as like run with it. It's like what piece of it is applicable that will fit into your life and the thing that you got going on with your different, and I think that is the power to always have that discernment. So with that disclaimer completely stated,
that's awesome.
I always, the thing that I always struggled with was this feeling of spinning so many plates. How do I spin all these plates? I got the daily admin stuff that has to be done. I got the kids' school stuff that has to be done. I got my goals, my dreams, my this, my that, be a good example, be a good mom, be a good, all this kind of stuff. And I was always trying to figure out that the formula where basically I wake up to a blank slate of time and clarity in how I should use that blank slate of time. And then
you figure that out, like, oh my God, I'm so excited. That's amazing.
And again, I really got to remind it's going to be unique for everybody,
Yeah.
So what I discovered is that, and this was actually told to me by a friend, which is basically her sharing her piece to me. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I'm going to take that. And then I was able to make what I was doing better, but it's just basically a concept of minimums. And it's like, if you run a marathon pace, you're going to get to where you're going. But if you do these huge spurts and then later wonder why you're burnt out, it's because it's just that natural cycle of you had this huge outburst of energy and then you have to rest.
Yes,
it's much easier to maintain daily reasonable goals and like a tiny checklist of all the areas of your life, and to do them consistently and create a feeling of momentum where you're slowly moving towards the big vision. And the people in your life see this constant daily effort that never seems overwhelming. And so it's easier to sell your child on 15 minutes a day of chores versus it's Saturday morning. It's a 3-hour cleaning session.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like, I'd rather do 15 minutes a day than a 3-hour chunk on Saturday. So this idea of minimums is what I kind of live by and plan my week, my days, my weeks, and that sort of thing. and it never feels overwhelming. And for example, yesterday, my entire day was taken up by a field trip. And with that knowledge of knowing what was on my schedule, I was still able to reach the daily quotas that I have because they are small and they're sustainable.
That's awesome.
And I wake up this morning going on track, instead of like this feeling of, no, I'm behind.
I think it's important to preface there or to pause there, and I don't mean to detract us too much, but I think there's a few things that I want to unpack. One is a lot of people are running through life as a consequence of how they feel. I feel X, therefore I'm going to act Y. And I understand the clarity that this structure gives you and your family allows you to really not have to be reactive. Like you said, you get to wake up and feel, I am present in the moment. I know exactly what is going to occur in this day. And even if you don't have control over every facet, I don't think that's what it's about. It still has plenty of time for spontaneity, but I can feel okay with where we're going, knowing that I'm making progress. And when I think of being a parent with a 3-year-old, and I know a lot of parents in this situation, with whether your kid's 2 or 22, we want to feel like we're making progress to our goals. We don't want to feel like being a parent means death to the individual identity and the individual goals that we have as people. We want it to marry and create this beautiful, like this beautiful like compilation where it kind of just grows organically together. So I think that's awesome. And I think the concept of minimums is very natural. I want to say organic is the word. Like if you start something and you're gung-ho, like we're on this new diet, everyone's doing this. And it's like a week of that. And then everyone falls off and you're like, and then it's like, what is that message to your inner soul and yourself? And then what is that message to your child? So I think taking the time to pause, figure it out. And I love that you have a formula to do that. And then to be slow and consistent, little things. Not only is it great for messaging for your family, but it's got to give you as a person a lot of confidence. Like if you were to fall off and not do something one day, you're like, it's one day out of the last 40. I got this. We're fine. And you can just pick right back up. So that is awesome. I love it. That is awesome. So you mentioned to me, oh, go ahead.
Well, I did want to. So what I've experienced from it is that if you start with a very tiny daily list and you consistently do that, whatever it is, for a mom of a tiny little one or a dad of a tiny little one or whatnot, that list might be wake up, feed the person, feed myself, take a shower, and that's it. And we're going to do this. We're going to do this for a long time. And then child grows, and then you're going to add one more thing to it. You're like, okay, and then we do that for a really long time. You're like, cool, becomes a habit, becomes a routine, becomes sustainable. Then you add one more thing to it. So fast forward, to someone my age and with my children and whatnot, what it has turned into is, and these are huge wins for me, is that, okay, now I'm consistently menu planning. I'm consistently working on the projects. And these are consistent. And none of the prior pieces that I added to that system of minimums have fallen out.
Because they're habits now.
Yeah, they are. They are. It's what I do. It's who I am. It's how I use my time. And it's going to look different months from now. So it's like you build momentum, it's consistent, and it evolves.
You said it's what I do, it's who I am. And that's, if I can quote Aristotle, you are what you repeatedly do.
Yeah.
Therefore, success is not a trait, it's a habit.
It is.
Awesome.
And then your family members, they see that and they start to emulate it. And there's a lot of magic. There's a lot of magic behind it. And they start to emulate it in their own ways. They're still their own people.
Yeah.
But they start to consistently do their own set of minimums in a sustainable kind of, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I'm very curious from your accounting, like CPA numbers standpoint, this concept of time, energy, money. Like, because again, when you think of accounting, like you said, you're thinking of the, you called it like the result, the fruits of the labor, the output, the lag results. But your lag results, your money is going to be a result, good or bad, right, of the inputs. Can you play with this with me for a minute? Like explain to me how you come to that and what that looks like. I'd love to hear more.
Okay. So this is definitely my playground. And I'm an accountant. I came to it later. It's, I am very lucky to be doing the thing that I was definitely meant to do. And it's the lens I see the world in. And what I realized is that accounting or becoming a CPA, which I'm on a journey to become, is actually a tiny part of the bigger picture. So, for example, business finances, it's the output. It's kind of the last stop of all the previous inputs. Mm-hmm. And so as an accountant, I zoom way out and I will start to bring in ideas and areas that are my passion to bring into the traditional accounting profession. So having said that, accounting or, your business financials, that's really the output. It's the report card of how you did.
Your report card.
And so my passion is to intuitively zoom way out and start to play in the playground of those inputs. And those inputs are really, the time and the energy. Awesome. And then the other half of the money is the personal finances. And it's definitely my life's work and it's in progress, I don't have it all figured out. But that is what is so fun, because what it's going to look like for me is going to look very different for other people. Yeah. So it's not, here's my one formula. It's let's zoom out and look at all the pieces and arrive together and co-create.
That's awesome.
Another person's formula. And it's so much fun. And I'm a little obsessed.
So I think let's play with that schematic. We'll take the time, energy, and money, and we'll go in that order. So okay. I know you say you don't have it all figured out, and that's impossible to do.
And I never will. I'm totally good with it.
Right. Nothing will ever be figured out, and thank God, because what fun would that be? But you did walk me through the base framework that you use and that you use for yourself and your clients, and they get to plug and play within that framework in order to help take their dreams and their goals and the things they write down, whether it's a family trip to Hawaii or whether it's starting this business, and it helps them notch it back to daily practices that we're going to get them there. And again, that goes into both time, and then eventually that also matriculates into the financial aspect of it and success. So we'll start with the time. Would you share with us a little bit about how you structure your week, or how you share that with your clients, like what that looks like? What are the plug and play pieces that go into that?
Okay. So I personally time track, and I've been doing it since April of last year. I think it was April of last year. And I have not met another person so far, and it's possible, but if you were to ask me what I was doing on any particular day in a 15-minute increment, I could tell you, because I have it all time tracked. And yes, this will be.
That's awesome.
This will be under quality time, by the way.
Yeah. Is that how this is allocated? Quality time?
Absolutely. This is in the B. Right now, we're just being, we're existing. We are just enjoying life, sharing treasure, exchanging, creating value. So this is definitely B.
For the people who are just joining us, there's three facets. There's do, be, and have. So we'll get into those in a second. Back to you.
Okay. So the thing about time, energy, money is last. Like I said, money is the report card. The do and the be are the other two parts of it. And so when you get to how you organize your time, I do time track, and it might be excessive for a lot of people, However, I think it's important to be aware of how we use our time. And so I plan my weeks. And by having my weeks planned, I'm able to zoom in and focus just on the day, knowing that I know what's coming up the next week or so, and then I'm able to be present. And so that's really important to me. And so so that's the time aspect. The energy aspect is being aware of what state I'm in when I'm using my time. And so am I doing the stuff, getting the stuff done, doing the shopping, paying bills, errands. I definitely have a checklist over there. And then there's the have, which is making sure we have stuff, the money generating, creating the resources, that kind of thing. And then the be, which has been my personal challenge. That is the area where it's very hard for me to just be like, I'm just going to be. It takes effort. It takes like a conversation with myself to be like, okay, you are definitely allowed to be. And being is just enjoying life, which is why we're here. That's why we're here. And the starting point is like, we've won the lottery of being here. You've won the lottery. You don't have to do anything to be like, am I worthy of this lottery? That's your starting point.
Yes.
And I think that by being aware of the time, energy, money, I think that a huge shift is happening in the world, which I do think I'm part of, is to shift everybody to that starting point of basic kind of human rights that we're all born with, to just be and enjoy our lives.
Monica, you are on the very, very leading cuff of something that's, or cusp. It's probably cuff is not the right word. Cusp, I don't know, one of those words. Whatever that is. Of something really revolutionary. Like, I think what you're doing is amazing. You hear holistic health, right? But a holistic accountant, a holistic CPA, like that is the whole thing we're doing with our brand, Mighty Morsels, is to have a holistic company, not only just about snacks, but about giving back to the community, sustainability. Like, I really think you're on the leading edge. You mentioned time tracking. I mean, if you would have asked, it's 2023. I think MyFitnessPal started to come onto the scene in like 2011, 2012. That's where you track your calories. I mean, now it's a household app. Like every 3 people have it, even if you're not like recomping or doing anything crazy, just because you need to understand the inputs to have a better understanding of the outputs. When I was in college is when I learned about it, and everyone started using it because they're at an age where they want to understand what gets them what, so they can choose for themselves. This is a very similar concept, but in the relation to time. And what I freaking love, and in fact, this is very challenging what I'm asking you to do, because you're taking something that's very holistic and you're trying to break it down into like a linear component. And I think you've done a really good job of it. So if I'm understanding correctly, by scheduling your time and doing it in a way that fits you, I would never be able to put 15-minute increments. That is not, I am way too messy outside the lines person, but understanding how it fits you, coming up with a time hack or a time methodology that fits will give you the clarity to be in the moment and be able to focus your energy. That's the key, because when you can do that, you are going to be more potent. You're going to be more present. You're going to make a better impact of your time. And that will get you the result, whether that's the money, the fitness, the finance, whatever those things are, quality time. I think that's brilliant. I love this.
That is very succinctly and accurately expressed, like better than I could have actually.
I'm not a speller, but I do like big concepts are kind of my deal. So. Mm-hmm. My husband's like, what is this? Like, this grocery list. It makes no sense to me. I'm like, oh, like, you flip these letters around, you do this. He's like, okay, throw that thing through ChatGPT, please, and then send it my way. So if you could give us just a high level of like the things in your week that you write in to help you get to your personal goals, like how much free time, or this is called quality time. Like, what are your blocks? Do you have Monica time, family time for me to achieve my goals? What are some of those pieces? And that way our audience can kind of start to plug and play. So I'd like to know like some of the categories and then maybe recommended allotments of time for set categories.
Got it. On it. Now, this is different for everybody, but this is mine. So basically, here's the formula. Here it is. You got the be, do, have. Everybody's breakdown of what's in be is going to be different. Everybody's breakdown of do is going to be different. Everybody's breakdown of have is going to be different. That's going to be very particular to every single person. Okay? Examples of be is quality time, sleep, feeding myself, fitness, reading, relaxation. I'm just a human existing, happy to be alive, those kinds of things. I'm not trying to really create anything. I'm just in a state of off the clockness, without guilt. That's my basic starting point as a human being. That's be, okay? So let's just set that. And for me, I'm going to say it's very challenging for me. I have to like intentionally be like, okay, I'm going to be.
This is my be time, Monica. Be.
Be. I command you. So this is challenging for me. Okay. So I'm going to last thing I want anyone thinking is like, she's got it figured out. No, please don't. I'm human. I'm just trying to figure it out. So that's B. Have is anything that makes money, anything that makes resources, your job, your side business. What else? Pretty much those. Any focus on finances, any focus on looking at planning.
Like investments, maybe. Planning.
Because planning, you are trying to work with your resources and trying to figure out how to allocate them. Planning your time, setting up your week. I planned weekly for a very long time. And there's an incredible resource where I learned that concept from. I'm like, wow, they really figured it out. And then I took it to the next level where I realized, I actually need to plan twice a week. I need a plan for the Monday through Friday. And then I need a plan for the weekend because I need to break it down into a more manageable, So planning is also in the have category. Mm-hmm. And then the do category is like the workhorse. We're just getting the stuff done. We're not thinking so much. We have our plan. We're executing. Mm-hmm. Just getting
execution.
We're executing without thought because we have a plan. We already know what we need to do. There's no thinking involved. And if you think about it, it's like a consolidation of energy where you're in that mode. So
love that.
In doing mode, you have consolidated and you're using a certain part of your brain and your body and that kind of thing. You are cleaning the toilets, you're organizing the pantry, you're just getting the work done. It's basically, if you had a personal assistant, this is what the personal assistant would do. Just get the stuff done. And so here's a formula. And this is really important. Okay. If you were to look at, 100%, the do and the have, so the do is 15%. And my time tracker actually mathematically confirmed this, which is
that's awesome.
Crazy stuff. But the do is 15%. The have is 35%. And that's the output. You're doing stuff. Mm-hmm. You're working, you're whatever. That's the output. 15 plus 35% is
50.
Okay. So this is a thing where math helped me find where I needed to be.
Wow.
If my output is 50%, what does my input have to be? 50%. The being.
50%? Yep.
So the formula is you have to be 50% of the time. Now, is every single day mathematically exactly 15, 35, 50? It's not. But I do find that over the course of a week or a couple weeks, if you take the aggregate averages, and yes, I have these on my spreadsheet, but
That's amazing.
if you take those aggregate averages, you really are around 15, 35, and 50.
That's amazing. Have you
It's
tracked
kind
this
of-
for other people as well?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I have
I'm
not
so
found
interested.
crazy enough.
I'm going to start tracking it on my own. I'm just curious. I'm just curious how that looks for like a big sample set of people. But I think that's awesome. Okay. I have to say something because I'm like a very energetic person. And like, this is like, this was like a braingasm to me. This was so cool. You read and you hear of like people like the 4-Hour Work Week, or there's a book I love by a gentleman, a Brit named Trevor Blake. It's the 3 Simple Steps. And they really freaking correlate to these three buckets, right? So it's so funny how things kind of all are saying the same thing. But you get these concepts of people not spending astronomical amount of times in the do, and they're out in nature and they're connecting. They're in the be. And because they're in the be, the being, they get the clarity that they need when they're doing the planning, when they're doing the have, when they're doing the preparation. And then they're actually getting the work done, which is the do. And it's a very small portion of the time, but because they're clear and they're connected and they're not, you said something so important in the be. The best thing you said about that is without guilt. If you can be without guilt, now when you're in the do, you're not worried about being in another segment, which is what this is what we all do. When we're not clear and we don't have clarity. Like, this to me was so cool because it put a mathematical like framework structure around a very spiritual, ethereal concept of go connect with nature, go be in your zone, go be in your flow, and then it'll work out. Like, that's awesome and sounds great, but what the heck does that, how do I work that into like, sports schedules and lunch boxes and like getting the kids to and from school and my job and my husband's stuff? And that's how. So that is awesome. Very cool.
And I would say, because of my obsession, my absolute obsession with this, is that I do have clarity in, okay, how should I categorize that? And I will be like, I think you should categorize it this way because of this. And you might say, that makes total sense. Or you might say, I don't think so because, and then you're like, you came up with a better answer. That is the whole point.
Exactly.
So
it's not going to be cookie cutter.
No. And this goes back to the concept of minimums, basically. I know where my minimums are currently on my weekly schedule. However, my minimums might not be another person's minimums, and it's possible that someone else may put fitness in the have category. That very well may belong there for them. For me, it belongs in the just being, because I literally need to just chill out. Chill out, girl.
That's awesome.
And so it's very organic. So it's formulaic, but there should be a lot of flexibility, So,
and as you change as a parent, as you change as a person, like your inputs are going to change, your amount of free time is going to change. But I think this is a great baseline framework. Yeah, this is really cool. So we talked a little bit about the do, and we talked a little bit about the be. Now I want to focus a little bit on the have, because I know specifically as an accountant, this is I'm so like, it's such perfect synchronicity to have you on, because I listened to this podcast the other day, this Tom Bilyeu podcast with this economist talking about, it's currently March 1st. Hey, April Fool's Day. Happy April Fool's Day. Oh, I got to plan something fun for my kids. That's my planning. Do something funky today.
This morning I wanted to, I didn't, but I had this evil thought of like, hey, I'm pregnant. I didn't know.
It's always the one, It's always the one. I was thinking about that one too. I'm gonna pull up to Dunkin' or to like Baskin Robbins or something and like say that they're all out of something and watch my 3-year-old's like just the light drain from his face and then say April Fool's and be like, what is that? You are an awful human.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So this podcast I listened to, and why I've been calling this out in the universe, and I'm so happy to have you on to talk to this, is like, it's currently April 1st, 2023. There's a lot going on with the Fed Reserve Bank, like unemployment with AI coming up, inflation being where it is, or 13 to 15%, the fact that your wages are growing at a roughly 5 to 6% on aggregate, and what that means for families, what that means for planning. They did this thing on the podcast where they looked at America was built off the backs of the middle class. The middle class built America, right? And now as our country progresses, there's so many places we can go. I will wrap this up in a bow and throw it over to you in a second. But it's just scary to see how the rich are getting richer, the middle class is getting decimated, and what's happening with the resources. Because if you don't know how to invest, the money that you're making, you're going to try and buy eggs, which are more expensive now, and you're never buying investments. So the people consuming all that money is going to the the higher class, and the middle class is going away. And then you culminate that with what's going on with the dollar and the inflation, the fact that they're just printing money and what that means. It's just so much happening. And at the same time, we're trying to grow a family and have kids and achieve our own personal financial goals. So thank God you're here. I have some questions. I'd like to know a little bit about your formula with financial planning. Let's start with the personal financial planning as a person or a family unit, and then let's extrapolate that over to businesses and goals and stuff like that, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm. So, tiny little bow. Here's what it is. Become the CEO of your own life. That's pretty much it. Be honest and attain clarity in how to become the CEO of your own life. Because basically, we're all in that rapid freeway in the middle of a 22, 23 lane highway, and they're coming at us from different directions. And we're trying to figure out how to safely cross over. Remember leapfrog?
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to safely leapfrog. And there's not much time to think because we're kind of, guess what? Inflation. Guess what? All those headlines. Guess what? It's like it's a reactive start. So we need to get out of that highway safely. We need to at the same time figure out what direction to go while we're trying to kind of in a reactive mode. And then once you get out of there, you're like, okay, all right, space, safety, made it this far. Let's focus the lens a little more. Let's figure out what's going on. And so now we have zoomed into our own personal life. And we're like, clarity, how do we get clarity? And I would have to say that the underpinning of time, energy, money is clarity. It is clarity.
Agreed.
And so I absolutely do maintain awareness of those external things going on. And at the same time, I know that I'm not in control of those things. So I don't let fear, it's more awareness. It's more
exactly.
awareness,
And you don't want to be fearful, right? I think the fear is if you feel the fear, it's a beautiful mirror for you to say, oh, there's fear here. It's probably because I don't feel like I'm doing the right things. And you know what? Good. Recognize it, get a plan, and then get some clarity around it. So you're not saying the same thing. And if it just is a tumultuous time. And I think in the past, it would be so easy to invest and say what to invest. But I feel like those parameters are changing now. There's statistics that Americans are in more debt than ever before, more credit card debt, that they're dipping into their savings for normal living expenses more than ever before. So this tells me that we don't, as a country, have this figured out. And we need that information, right? We need people who are knowledgeable to say to look at, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but look at spending, whatever you come in, bringing your finances down from frivolous spending and investing that. That's the stuff that we need to understand. So I know you mentioned there's a tool that you use personally with the personal finances to help really get a good idea. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about what that is and how people can use it.
Mm-hmm. So there are many tools out there, and the one that I currently personally use, and I think I'll probably I think that it's a long-term committed relationship. But I use You Need a Budget. And
I do. You need a budget.
that's synchronicity, man. These things are not unnoticed. Just want to let you know that. And So that is really where clarity starts. And to go
Is that
back,
an app on your phone? Is that how that works? And you,
it can be an app. Personally, I'm not a fan of the app. A lot of people might be, but I think that there is much more. Well, I'm getting older and my eyes don't like the tiny little screens. I mean, it's just the reality of it. And I think that more functionality is available on the laptop. I
yeah.
see
Okay.
the things a bit more. A lot of people love the apps. So it's kind of a preference kind of
Okay,
thing.
cool.
But I do use my laptop. And so that is where I work on the clarity. And then once you have clarity, you can figure out how to efficiently use your resources. And then when you start to efficiently use your resources, you start to create leverage. And then when you start to create leverage, what would seem like a very big wave is just kind of choppy water.
Can we walk through that together?
Yes. Give you an example. So straight up, you start to nail down your personal finances. Okay.
I'm spending X at Starbucks, Y here.
Yeah.
And
all of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Here's where I'm spending stuff.
Every single in and out. It does not take a lot of time. And the thing about being an accountant is that I see, just kind of a side note, I see where people trip up. I see where there's like a learning curve. I see where I spent 18 and a half hours, and I spent 18 and a half hours because my time tracker says I did. So it was a setup. It was the learning curve. It was troubleshooting. And so I pretty much nailed it down, and I was starting to see patterns. And once you start to see patterns, you can start to plan more effectively. And then once you have an entire year behind you, oh, wow, come on. Now you're planning exactly what is going to be spent in what month, just as those minimums. It goes back to the minimums, right? So all of the quote unquote unexpected registration again, but you knew.
You know.
So
that's the clarity, right? That's
exactly.
The clarity.
That's the clarity. And that is back to just those basic things that everybody has to pay for. And so once you're able to see the in and out, you get yourself in a proactive state where the resources that you, again, have in your bank account in the form of income, you are 100% choosing how to use that.
And that's the leverage.
And not yet. That's clarity.
Okay. That's still clarity. Okay.
And so here's how the leverage starts to play in. You do this for about 3 months, and I'm an accountant, you run the income expense, and you start to see, you scroll down to the bottom, and you start to see, is it green or is it red? Green is, this is the income, this is the expense, this is what's left over, which is ideally what you want to see. Red is income, expense, and it's red because you used more than you took in. Okay. You do that for a few months and you start to see, it's kind of magic, but you start to see green, 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 green. And then you start to create a buffer, which is, let's say, 3 months of savings. How much savings? It's not a mystery anymore because you can see that's how much I need. Clarity, 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 right? You go a couple more months and then you start to build that because you have the information, like how much. The question is answered. You're still in the clarity phase. And then about between 3 and 6 months, I would say, this would be different for everybody, but personally, I think between 3 and 6 months, you would start to build your months of what you think you need. And then once you have about 3 to 6 months, you are finally starting to create leverage. Mm-hmm. What that means is somebody loses a job, but hey, guess what? You have 3 months or 6 months to still make good decisions, not be reactive.
Got it.
Which
is what got you in the other situation to begin with.
Yes. Yes. And so once you're in leverage, then you start to mitigate the headlines, the economic condition.
Right.
That kind of stuff. And so you maintain awareness of what's going on. However, you're still able to maintain you're still your own CEO.
And in that leverage piece, that's the part I'm most fascinated with. And so this is cool. I really appreciate the structure behind this. in the leverage piece specifically, now you have, they say to keep 3 to 6 months of this discretionary income on hand, livable income, just in case something was to happen. So when you, and that is different for everybody depending on your risk aversion. If you're comfortable with 3, then you could take the rest and you can start doing stuff with it. You can start investing it. And this is not financial advice by Parenting on Purpose. Do your research, see what fits for you. That could be real estate. That could be, mutual funds. That could be starting an asset like a physical products brand. That could be starting an asset like a YouTube, or it could be any myriad of things, right? So do your research on what your personal goals are in alignment with you. Now that we're in the leverage phase, what should people look to as a heuristic for I should save this much? Like, I understand the 401k thing with many jobs is happening. I also understand that's not going to be sufficient when we get to that point in our life. We need to take additional precautions now, because the savings is a giant fallacy. If you're saving something in your savings account at a 0.0%, 1% interest, and inflation's going by 15, you're not saving. You are holding money that is very rapidly losing value. And I think people need to understand that. So what do you recommend people do when they are in that leverage phase to help put themselves in a better financial future? And is there a certain percentage? Like, how does that work?
Okay. So really important. I am not a financial advisor. That's a whole other field, and it's not an area that I would ever venture in. And I am like if you were to look at like a pyramid, I am at the very rock bottom of all of them. So I would be the one that makes sure that you are able to give your financial advisor accurate information.
Got it.
I give your lender accurate information. I give your CPA or tax preparer. I don't do taxes, never will. Don't
hit me up for taxes. So
I'm the person who makes sure that information, that the very rock bottom, is as optimized, accurate, and efficient as possible. Okay.
Awesome.
Having said that, the key forward for every single person is diversification. Diversification. Now, what people choose as what feels right to them for how they want to be diversified is going to be very, very, very personal. And I think obviously investments will be part of that formula. I'm very conservative, so I would not want to have like 100% of my eggs in the investment basket, for example.
Sure.
So investments, creating your own business, creating passive income, and that's a whole other field. Basically, the concept is create something once, and then it keeps selling itself. Yep. Like a book, or create an online course, or that kind of, So that's my very short, zoom out for what that could look like, and then I come back to my playground.
Yeah, that was a very PC answer, very politically correct answer. I'll put the giant disclaimer on the thing. No, it's just great to get somebody else's like lens on it, right? And I think it's super smart to diversify. And again, like a lot of our audience, and like us included, like we're in the throes of family, and there's all this stuff the kids need and all this stuff. So I think getting out of reaction, and you described it as the Frogger. A lot of people I subscribe to, I refer to it as the quicksand. Getting out of that, I am in this boat, so I feel this way, and because I feel this way, it's just this cycle of ick. And getting out of that is just understanding the baseline. Like, hey, like there are decisions that we're making that are not serving us, and it doesn't mean you can't do the things every once in a while. That's not what it means. Or, by the way, it doesn't mean you have to shrink your lifestyle. You can also find other ways to get income if that's your baseline. But just getting the understanding, and then getting to play and plug from there. And that gives you a lot of freedom and creativity, and I can imagine like empowerment, right? I mean, I've done this not as structured as you by any means, but there are like several times a year where I start to go through my finances, and I'm like, all the crap that like your kids get, like one-click stuff, and you're like, oh, I'm subscribed to this, I'm subscribed to this. Like this stuff's all coming out every month, you don't even know. And then you're like, all right, probably should pay attention to that a little bit. It gives you a lot of clarity.
I would no clarity in that is like, this is where I come in and I'm like, you know, yeah, I do. Like, whoa, that's what I'm here to do, you know.
That's awesome. I mean, maybe I'm on an island here, but I don't think as many people do that as they should. I think if they did, we probably would be like, as a country, like riddled in credit card debt for multiple
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because A, it takes a lot of time to set up, and B, if a person has been operating in a less than optimal level of clarity, they're not in a position to even define what does clarity even feel like.
Exactly.
And so sometimes people like me are like help with a setup, which is a lot of tech. There's a lot of accounting barriers, a lot of questions that come in going, how should I? For me, it's second nature.
Awesome.
And I can explain, you do it this way and this is why. And either they get it or they're like, I still don't see it. And I'm like, okay, different way. And then boom, they get it. And then it's that clarity of also how you arrange the categories, because in a nutshell, money comes in, the allocation should be according to the minimums, right? What's most important? Make sure we have the monthlies taken care of. What's next important? Make sure that the less than monthly is taken care of. What's after that? Now we start to get into the wants. And how do we arrange? And you start to see this, it's that balance between too much and too little information.
Yeah, cool.
That's the playground that I work in to help reach that clarity. And it's really cool stuff. This is that co-creative kind of space where I'm like, okay, this is how you should do it. And, you know, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then there's that space where they start to take over.
Yeah, because now it's they're in it, right? They understand, they have a baseline. I mean, human beings are incredible species. Like the fact that like it does not, you can't do all and be all. And thank God for the technology age where we have access to stuff like you, information like people like you, and just stuff like this where we can get the baseline. Once you give us a baseline, like the learning curve is pretty quick. We're pretty freaking remarkable. We can do mostly anything. And if we can't, we know how to leverage other resources and technologies to help us get what we want. Like we are really at a really cool age to where if you really take this stuff in and apply it, you could be at a much different place for yourself and your family, which I think is very empowering, right? Especially at a time like now. I mean, especially at a time like now when you have a young family, right? There's never too early to look at stuff like this. What is the Chinese proverb? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yep.
That's awesome. I love this. So we always end with, if you were to give people one thing, and then this could be from a being present, this could be from a financial standpoint, this is whatever is on Monica's heart. If you could give parents one thing that they could do today to improve the quality of their life or their family's lives, what would that be?
Oh, 100%. Whip those personal finances into shape. Get absolute extreme clarity. Short and simple. And it's a report card. It's a oh, okay. It's head out of the sand. I did it for myself. And one of the hardest things I did was put my student loan on there going, all right, fine. I'm going to acknowledge you. and yet, you know, it's a hard thing to do, to be very clear with where you are. And once you are able to figure out, it's like a map. It's just the map analogy. You have to figure out where you are on the map. If you cannot put the dot of exactly where you are on the map, you are never going to get to where you want to go. It's never going to happen. So find where you are on that map with finance, with personal finances, and then everything else will be figured out from there. Then you can start to reverse engineer the inputs to change that output. It's that short and simple.
And I get from that is like, have the courage to. You deserve it. Your children deserve it. You look at people, like did that Harvard study, and kids like wrote down their goals and they were this much more likely to achieve their goals. And then I've seen some sequence studies where it's like, even if you write your goals down, most of the reason people do not achieve what they want, besides the fact they don't use the Lund formula. I've just called it that. That's not your name. That's not your formula's name. I just used your last name, the Lund formula. That's what I'm going to call it in my personal life.
Oh my goodness.
But besides not having a formula to get there is because they don't have clarity on what they actually want. We say we want things, but what we're really doing is just saying the objects that we think we should have based upon society. We're not clear. We don't have the clarity. And everything you've given us today helps us to absolutely have the space to now have that clarity come to us. And now once we have that, and we have the two formulas you gave us, we're unstoppable. It's awesome. This is great. Can you please tell people if they're like, one of the things we try to do on this channel is for all of our audience, like, okay, I'm really moved by what she's doing, this holistic accounting. Like, I really would prefer to have someone like that in my life. Where do they find you? Where do they interact with you? What projects are you working on that they can get involved with? Any of that?
Probably the best place to find you would be on my website. So it's North Star Financial Solutions, LLC.com. The reason why it's called North Star is because it goes back to, I'm just someone to help you find your own best answer.
Ooh,
it's very important.
Your own true north, right?
It's very important. And so it's a co-creative experience.
The fact that I'm like now listening to an accountant use the word co-creation and accounting together, like it gives me so much faith in humanity. Like, I love this. Like, in so many ways of society, we're doing very good.
There are, I do want to say that there are, in my world, I do see other people playing in this space. So
that's awesome.
I do believe that this is something that I'm not the only one playing in. You know, and I do want to give credit to those other people who are also operating from this space. You know, I'm just one of them with my own little piece of the puzzle.
You're so humble, and it comes across, and you're just such a beautiful soul, and I think that's amazing. But you were definitely in the leading edge for sure, right? I think it's going to be so fun to keep in touch with you throughout the years and watch how you grow and where this goes. And I'll absolutely be personally utilizing you in some of these tools. And I just really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your heart with our parents. And parents, as always, I appreciate you guys for being here. You guys are doing, you know, the universe and God's work, and it's amazing. And I'm so proud to be a part of this community, and we're here to serve you. So I don't do this very often because I always forget, but we are here for you. I appreciate all your comments. If there's ever anything you want to learn, you want to hear, something you want us to address, put it in the comments down below. You always have our contact info. Let us know. We're starting to get people telling us what they want to hear, and that's part of this financial conversation today. So we're here for you. Let us know, and please bless that like button. Hit that button for me real fast. It helps the algorithm and helps us get into the homes of more parents like us. So until next time, everybody, stay beautiful, stay inspired. Until the next perfect time, guys. Thanks so much.